Afternoon, Ngozi Talk Shows family. It's Nomsa here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today is Nick Mutishka. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. It's just me and you today. What is the time in Canada now?
It is 6:08 a.m.
Wow, I'm sorry to wake you up so early, but I think your energy is good in the morning, so we are good to go. So our topic today is nothing is going right in my life. What should I do? So Nick, when you saw the topic, what did you think?
I thought it's a good topic because I think we've all felt that at different times in our lives. And I think it's a good thing to talk about, especially at this time of year when people are really focused on making changes in their lives and moving forward in the best way possible.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was looking for the topics, and then I kept checking on the software, and then in this topic came up, and then I was like, okay, it does make sense because it's January now, 2023. Everyone is in the new year. They are all getting excited, but some people, they are like questioning their lives. How can they move forward? And some people are going through struggles at the moment, going through tough times. And I was like, why not create a video so people can learn how to deal with the difficult situation like a pro? Because we all deal with the difficult situations in different lives. And but what happens is when people's lives are not going how they want, people intend to actually give up. There are some people who are giving up. So what is that? I just switched off my phone. So what advice can you give someone right now, Nick, who's saying, I'm not sure what to do with my life at this moment. Nothing is going right for me right now when they are watching this video. So can you actually, maybe you had to deal with things in the past, and please take the stage.
Yeah, for sure. So I have felt this at numerous points in my life and in my previous career, and it is not a comfortable place to be at all. And it feels, overwhelming, and it's hard to even see a possible solution that could get you out of whatever the situation is. And for me, it took a lot of years and a lot of those situations to basically beat me down to the point where I started listening to myself. And so I'll just kind of tell an overview of my journey and how this feeling of nothing's going right has come into my life at different times, and how I responded, and then to eventually start listening to myself and my heart. So I was a police officer in Canada for 17 years, and prior to that, I was in the enforcement world since I was 19 years old. So, and I'm 43 now. So, and I just resigned from policing here in April of 2022.
I'm older than you. Dang
it. So for over half of my life and my entire adult life, I was in the enforcement world. And so there was definitely times in my career where I felt like nothing was going right, and what the hell was I doing? And so I'll start kind of at the beginning. So I with some reflection, I have come to the conclusion that I chose my career from my wounded inner child. So I grew up in a household where my father was a police officer, again here in Canada, and sometime in kind of my high school age, I decided that I wanted to be a police officer. And looking back now with all of the, growth, I guess, I've done in healing over the years. So I wasn't seen or heard as a child. And I think there's a lot of people who are in that same boat. There was, no affection, and it always I didn't feel like I was a priority. And so now I've realized that I chose my career I thought chose a career that would make my parents proud of me, and also take it another step is to put on a uniform and strap on a gun and all those things. And it's like, hey, everybody, look at me. Like, because as a child, I didn't feel like I was seen. So terrible place, terrible idea to choose your career that you're going to do for the rest of your life from your wounded inner child. But that's my story. So I got into the enforcement world, and the excitement of it definitely appealed to me. And there was a lot of parts of it that genuinely did kind of align with my personality. I enjoy adrenaline and excitement and unknowns and all of those things. So I thought, oh, this is a perfect fit. Fast forward then into when I actually eventually got hired by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police here in Canada. And I was excited and went to training, and it's in the middle of the prairies here in Canada in Regina, Saskatchewan. And I lived in a room with 28 other men in this long, skinny room, and shared a bathroom with all of those fellas. And at the time, it's called Depot, I believe I already mentioned that, but we were in what's called B block. So it's the old building, like where they've been housing baby Mounties. That's what we are when we're in training, since the beginning, like since probably the early 1900s, and it hasn't changed much since then. So it's pretty archaic. They were doing a bunch of renovations there at the time, and so what's supposed to be a bathroom for 32 individuals was actually a bathroom for 96 at the time because of construction. So there's 96 of us crammed in this bathroom, and then again living in this long dorm with all these other men, and the noises and smells and all the things you can imagine that would come with that, and sleep talking and sleepwalking. And I just remember laying there and being like, what the hell am I doing? And then and then got through my training, and I didn't enjoy it. I thought I would, because I thought, well, if I'm genuinely interested in this career, I'll enjoy training. And I didn't at all. And the hardest part for me was just being there, like being in that environment. And you're as a police officer in Canada, specifically with the Mounties, it's a really strong paramilitary organization. And so as a cadet, which is what I was as someone in training, you're not viewed as worthy to even like walk on the sidewalk, for example. So you're like, it's just like this psychological kind of beat down for 6 months. And so anyways, long story short, on the training part, didn't enjoy it. Got out of training and thought, I know everything. Like, I'm ready for you, world. And got posted to my first detachment in the middle of Alberta, and got out and started going to calls with my training officer, and very quickly realized I had no idea what the hell I was doing. And it just it kind of, I guess, just built up from there for me. So what you don't realize, for what I didn't realize going into policing, was that I went on ride-alongs and different things, and it's all exciting, right? Like going to the call and dealing with the whatever it is, and then packing up. And then as a ride-along, you don't see all the paper that goes in and the hours of all that like file prep stuff. And then through the court process, obviously you don't get to see that just because of the nature of it. And so now having to live that firsthand, and then seeing how the calls just like stack up, and all that paperwork just stacks up within a matter of months, I was just a wreck. I was just stressed out. When I get stressed, I actually like break out, my face breaks out. And so I was like, had pimples all over my face and just like, I was just a mess. And I made it to, I was about, I would say about a year in, and I was at this place that is the topic today. And that was like, nothing's going right. I feel like terrible. I've chosen the wrong job and life is hard. And it just felt overwhelming and daunting, and I didn't see kind of a way out. And for me, that's kind of when my stubbornness, I guess, kicked in. And I was just like, okay, I didn't come this far, go through everything that I went through, all the training, everything, to like quit. I'm just not, that's not how I operate. And in hindsight, that was probably what the universe, source, God was trying to tell me, that, or it was a test. And the I chose to push through and persevere. And so I did, and I ended up getting into a different position within policing. So at the beginning, started it on the street, going to calls and general duty, it's called. And so I got into a more specialized unit where it was an investigative crime reduction team, and where the pace is just a little slower, where the files are more proactive and there's not just so many coming in. So at that point where I was very stressed out and was thinking about quitting, or I don't even know what I was going to do, I I had 100, so I had 120 open investigational files where there was stuff that needed to be done, and it was just like overwhelming. It was like, when the hell was I going to find time to deal with these 120 investigations when you have like 14 plus more coming in every shift that you work? So it was just a hamster wheel that I just didn't see a way out of. So got into a specialty unit, and then went into more specialized drug investigations. And I thought, okay, this is better. I can handle this. And then again, fast forward, and the court system. So as the years went on, became more and more familiar with the inner workings of the justice system here in Canada, and I use that term very, very loosely, sorry. And specifically in drug investigations. So you end up in court a lot as a drug investigator, because when someone's charged with a serious drug offense, I mean, it's worth their time and money and effort to fight those charges because the consequences are serious, which makes total sense. So you end up in court a lot, and you come up against these big, expensive, high priced, fancy suited lawyers, and you realize fairly quickly, and I don't know what it's like there, but in Canada, if you have the money, if you can pay the right lawyer the right amount of money, you can basically get away with whatever you want to get away with. It's actually quite disheartening. So that really like started to break me down, like right from the beginning, but it just kind of just kept going as my career progressed. And again, I got to a point where I was in that position of like, gee, like nothing is going right in my life. And I didn't know what else to do but just push through. And so in Canadian policing, it's 25 years before you can retire with a pension. And so I thought, okay, I'll just push through and do that 25 years. And in the meantime, I was getting more and more jaded. I was becoming like my home life was getting affected by my professional life. And so at this point, I'm now married. I have switched from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to a municipal police service here in Canada, the Calgary Police Service. And my wife and I had a baby at that point, and that's when I got into undercover work with the Calgary Police Service. And that was like a real low point for me. And with the benefit of hindsight, again, is to like realize that it's just out of alignment for me. The like lying, because that's what you're doing as an undercover officer, is you're tricking and you're lying and you're being deceitful in the name of good, but it's still like the energy of that just is not in alignment with me. I am a person who feels best when I'm doing what I genuinely believe in and can be honest and myself. And obviously, you can't do that in an undercover world. And so I was at a real low point. My relationships were suffering. My wife has told me since that if I would have stayed in the undercover world, we wouldn't still be married. So that was really quite, I guess, a sobering thing to hear, that that's how bad it had, I guess, gotten at that point. And so I kind of had this little mini realization. It's like, okay, this particular line of work within policing isn't doing it for me. And so I moved into a different unit in policing that I thought would fix everything. And of course, it was slightly better, but not, again, what I was supposed to be doing. And so a very, very long story, long at this point, is I was out of alignment. I wasn't doing what I came here to do on this planet in this incarnation. And so that's why I was having all of these struggles, all of these feelings of like nothing's going right and the world's against me and like life sucks and all of that. And it was because I wasn't listening to what was trying to be taught to me. The lesson I was coming here to learn, I just wasn't learning it. And so it took 17 years in policing. So I was being taught these lessons and going through these trials, to the point where I reached my breaking point, and I ended up with PTSD from the traumas that I collected in my career. And in the moment of my breakthrough at work, which was the best thing that ever happened to me, most would describe it as a breakdown for sure. And it was in that moment, but like huge breakthrough, and finally started listening to my heart and what I needed to be doing, not what society expected me to do or my parents expected me to do or anyone. And so I started listening and taking my own, mental health and physical health seriously. And I sought out the help that I needed to process those traumas. And so that's what I did. And since that point, my life has I look at my life like it was like an onion, let's say. And all of the like layers of my life, so my career and all the things that, like from the outside, that the house and the fancy cars and all those things, they've just like started getting peeled away, like slowly and surely. And it's felt super scary at times, and like really, really just like you're hanging out there in the wind. But it's been an amazing process to see all those layers come off, and like what's left in the center is me, is who you're seeing today, and the energy of me. And now that I'm in alignment with what I'm here to do, and all of that. And so it has been a long, like painful process to get to this point. But I feel like if it was easy, everyone would do it, and then my story wouldn't be a story. It would just be, everyone goes through things, and it hasn't been easy, but it's been so good once I started choosing myself. And I guess what I'm trying to say is just when you're in alignment and when you're making decisions from your heart, even if they don't make sense, whether it's getting out of a relationship that's bad, getting out of a career that's bad for you, any of those things, like, doesn't feel good. But to think about what that would bring in the unknowns and all of the variables you can't control once you start, quitting jobs or leaving relationships, excuse me. But I'm here to tell you that once you do that, and once you commit to doing that, everything just figures itself out. And it's an amazing place to be in alignment and just acting from my heart. So that was a really long way to kind of introduce my story, but that's my story. So go ahead, over to you.
I love your story, Nick. I love the ending of the story when you say you have to choose you, and even when life doesn't make sense, and make a decision in your life that align with your values, that align with where you want to be. Because in life we intend to see the struggles, and when we see the struggles, we listen to too much noise. Everyone has some ideas on how we should lead our lives, and the society tells us this is who we need to be. Our parents tells us who we need to be. And for me, I was very, very lucky. I was raised by my parents. My parents are just easy people. They let us children become who we wanted to become. And I have two fathers in my life. I go to my dad. My dad will be like, Nomsa, he will tell me the challenges in life. This is what life is about. But you have to choose your own path. I go to my stepdad, and would tell me this is my stepdad was a very rich man, and I remember getting excited, and I'm like, I want to get out of this country. I want to travel overseas. And when I travel overseas, I left home. I traveled. My stepdad had given me money, but he didn't tell me when I left home that I was really, really rich. And I travel, and then I go to people where I was living with. They just turn on me just like that. When we live in a very, very judgmental world where people would judge you. Like, they were like, she's going to be our responsibility, but I was never going to be their responsibility, because my parents had sorted me out. And I intend to not to talk too much when I meet people. So I intend to go quiet and keep quiet and just evaluate situations. So I called my stepdad when I arrived, and my dad, and they were like, we're happy where you are. My stepdad was like, I need you to open this, and inside you have money that is gonna help you to whatever is needed for you to live. So I was like, wow, this man loves me so much. So then I decided not to tell people that I was living with, to go quiet. And they just turned on to me. You know what? I decided, I'm gonna get the right papers to remain in the country. I went quiet. I didn't tell them what I was doing. I just met the guy on the street because I like to talk, to ask questions. I met this guy, and this guy, we started chatting, and I was like, listen, I have a problem. So I need to find out the ways of getting proper papers for me to stay in this country so I can have a good life. And it was like, okay, I'll take you to this place, and got myself sorted out, and I went quiet, and the people just changed. When people change, me, I'm like, okay, I stay humble. And I found my place to stay, got a job, and now I was away from my parents, and I'm like, how am I going to survive this? All my life, I wanted to do this. I wanted to play football, and I wanted to be a professional wrestler as well. Music was in my blood as well. So I sang professional since the age of 9. So I was like, these are the things that I love to do, and things like that. And in the end, I went to Tech Music School, and I joined the football team. So that was my life story. And I started playing football and I started doing my music. But life wasn't the way that I expected. You know, when I was in Africa, life was good. My parents were there. And when you're on your own and things are not working the way you want, there were times where I wouldn't cry the tears. There were times where I wanted to go home because I felt like this wasn't my home. And you know, like there's no place like home. I'm sure you know the meaning when you're like when you are at work, like doing the police, like you can see that this is where I don't belong here. That mindset of I don't belong here. So, but in the end, I got used to the idea of staying, and I was like, I made a decision that I wanted to come here, so I need to actually live up to it and stop really like get used to it. So I decided to learn more about the United Kingdom. I went to school and I started studying the culture, and I just got to know everything. I just got to know all these things, the different things. And in the end, I decided I was going to stay, but life wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. So if anyone is watching and they're going through the struggles, I don't know what pain that person is going through. And the reason I'm sharing my story is you have to, when you are doing things, you got to, everything has to align with you. It has to align with what you want in life. And when you align those things, you have to stick to it. So I've learned to stick to my decisions. Normally, when things get tough, I want out. Even with a relationship, when things get tough, I want out. Or sometimes when things are not working, I will just keep going and hoping that things will get better, but things don't get better. So sometimes if things are not working, evaluate the situation, evaluate whatever things are going wrong, why things are going wrong. And also, for me, I was in the UK. I wasn't looking at how lucky I was. I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at how bad the situation is, but I had to find something to hold on to, which was God. God kept me going, knowing that, you know what, I'm not on my own. And also knowing that some people, they really, really want to travel overseas, but they don't have those opportunities. So I had to actually, instead of thinking negative, I had to remind myself that for me, my life is worth it. Even when times where it felt hopeless, because I was very, very close to my family, very, very close. I'm very close to my parents as well. So it was tough. You see, it was like really, really, really tough. But I had to not get used to it. I had to be grateful. I had to use my journaling. I had to actually to pray to God to help me to go on. And I know that there are some people that they want to travel overseas, they want to do this, they want to do this, and they don't know what's going to happen, what's on the other side. And if you are that person that wants to travel overseas, you got to know that it's different. Traveling to somebody else's country is different when you don't have a family. So those were my things, and starting my business as well. And it was tough. It wasn't really, really easy. But what I had to remind myself was I knew that I wasn't alone. I just walk with God. For me, from a very, very young age, I always believed in God. And I always knew, I don't know, maybe I have this angel that is guiding me through when things get tough. I always know that I'm not alone. And those are the things that keeps me going, even with the struggles in life. I don't give up. I have this thing where, and when I say I'm out, I'm out. It's like when I'm doing something, if I feel that this thing, like with you were in doing your work, the work that you've known for a very long time. And when I feel that this is not for me, it does not align with what I'm doing, with where I need to be. And when I say I'm out, I'm out. And I always try to actually to make decisions and then move on with my life without any regrets. So that's what I did. And I came to actually realize that, okay, United Kingdom is where I wanted to be. And then I was like, okay, I think I need to be grateful and stop complaining and stop whining. And I had to change friends as well, because sometimes the people that we hang out with, they will define where we're going to be tomorrow and who we're going to become. And we are not on earth to just be ordinary. We are here to become something. And it is up to us to make that something happen. Like you left your job and you've started your business, and but you didn't know what was tomorrow. But there was this thing, guidance, to say, you know what, I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it for myself, and I'm going to do it for my wife and for my children. But you did it anyway. So I think that is life. And thank you for sharing that story, Nick. Really, really appreciated. So what advice can you give someone if they're like, I hear you guys, I hear what you're saying, but my life is just not working. Where do I begin? Where can people begin?
Yeah, and for me, I kind of can now pinpoint where I started to get clear on the steps I needed to take to get into alignment. And for me, it was a diet change, actually. So cleaned out all of the sugar and processed and carbs, and like it was a gut reset. And then at the same time started meditating. And that was in early 2020. And then for me, actually, cannabis was another factor. It just gave me a different perspective on life. And so those three things helped me at the very beginning to start, I guess, listening to my inner guidance and the, God self within me. And it makes sense now because I'm getting quiet, right? It's like, it's clearing out all the, pollution, basically all the garbage food that I was putting in my body. And I'm quieting my mind in meditation and getting quiet enough so I can start actually listening to my intuition, to my gut, to that inner knowing. And once I did that, and then started hearing this voice and the feeling of what it felt like to act. Once I've received those messages, it was really encouraging, because I would take a step in the direction, a small step, whether it was, and for me, it was my sleep had really gone not well, working shift work for that many years. And so it was listening to the fact that, okay, something's going on with my sleep, I need to actually get help with, and then making steps in the real world to actually do that. And it was just affirming, you get those messages, and then to actually take that step in the real world to take action and to do something about it, it just felt really good. And so that small step led to another step, and so on, and to the point now where I just trust that voice, that knowing inside of me, and it doesn't let me down. It's just when I act from what feels good in my heart and take steps in that direction with that, in accordance with that intuition, yeah, good things happen. And so that would be my recommendation to people, is just to get quiet, whatever that looks like for you, and to start listening, and then to take steps in the world to show that you are in fact listening.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Nick. It's more like a step back and go quiet, because when things are not going, people tend to think that they have to keep going. For me, when I'm feeling overwhelmed and stressed and feeling like I want to give up on something, whatever I'm be doing, that is making me feeling that way, I go to a place where I feel that I need to actually step back, and I need some me time. I need some quiet time to actually and just relax and meditate and be in that present moment. Because if I keep going, that means I'm pushing myself to a place where I don't want to be. And I just have to actually remind myself that everything will work out just fine. And yes, things sometimes can go wrong in life, but that's only, it's a human nature. And I don't have to blame myself, because sometimes we tend to blame ourselves. We tend to think that, oh, I've made a mistake. If I hadn't done this, things would have been this way. But that's how we learn. That's how we grow, by going through struggles in life. And it's important to actually embrace our flaws, like you were saying, and learn from whatever the struggles that we are going through. And those struggles, they're not just there for us to actually feel sorry for ourselves. They are there to make us stronger. And they are there to teach us to actually become the person that we want to become, and to find a way in life. Because whatever you do, like Tony Robbins always say, whatever is going on in life, you will find a way to pull through it. Because that way is always there. But we tend to shut down everything, and then we think our life is going wrong, and we intend to blame ourselves. We intend to our mind will start Googling things and making things up. But it is important, when you're going through a struggle, it is important to stay focused. It is important to remember where you've been, and remember the struggles you have had to go through before, and how you were able to pull through them, and know that everything is just gonna be okay. Remember that things will work out in the end. For me personally, I don't know, I love God. When things are not going well, I'm like, I hand it over to him. But when I do hand it over to him, I fix me as well, because it is very, very important to actually not to give up. It's very, very important to actually be with the right people, choose your tribe, be very, very careful. Because when you choose those people that you choose in your life, everything that your surroundings, it will determine where you need to be tomorrow or next year. And the people that are around you, if you choose people where you don't feel good, that are going to make things worse for you, then you're not going to go further in life. But if you choose people that they will just help you gain strength, to say, you know what, you got this, you can do this. And without giving advice, because people like giving advice. For me, I don't like giving people advice. When somebody's going through, I always ask them, what part do you want me to play in this problem? What part? So I'll be all in. If somebody, and then the person will be like, sometimes they're telling you because they just want you to listen to them. And some people, they're telling you because they want you to motivate them. They want you to help them with how you helped yourself with the other problems in the past. Some people, they are just actually telling you because they believe that you can listen to them without judging them. So that's what I do. When somebody tells me their problems, I'm like, just tell me what you need me to do, and I'm available. And also let them know that I'm always there if they need me to actually to support them with however they want me to. And I think it is also important that we value ourselves, And it is also important to actually know who we are. Me, I know myself who I am, but having to know myself, I was never always like this. I am somebody that I like to pray, and I like God to reveal who am I. And I also fast. When I fast, I activate my spirit within me to stay alert, so I can be aware of what is going on in my life, so I can have some guidance to go through life, go through challenges, whatever. Whenever, if I see a challenge, it's like when I was going through divorce, I was like, God, you know what? I'm not sure if I can do this. I always trust God. And God, I was like, you know what? I chose this man. He's a good man. So why my relationship is not working? And he was like, Nomsa, take a look around. And Nomsa spent time 3 hours getting dressed and making sure she was wearing the right makeup, making sure my hair matched everything, my high heels, my everything. But I didn't have time to work on my relationship. I didn't have time to, I thought relationship is all about you do this for me, I do this for you. We go out and have fun, like when we watch romantic films on TV. That's the idea that I used to think a relationship is about, until a guy was like, Nomsa, you asked me to give you a man who's got this, and I gave you everything that you wanted, but you didn't have the knowledge of how to keep that man. So I think it was time for me to actually work on myself. It was time for me to actually realize that relationships requires hard work. And all those things I didn't have a clue about it. I just thought, okay, if I find a man who's got a good job, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna go out, we're gonna honey bunny, have sex and have a good sex and love each other, hold hands. And I didn't need to do anything when, like on TVs, like romantic. Those are the ideas that I had. And when things got tough, I couldn't understand. I was like, I'm out. Things get tough in something, I'm out. But now I have the knowledge of what is a relationship, what is required in that relationship. When I say I am looking for a man, what is required from that? So I don't have to struggle when it comes to relationship. I can choose to be single as my own choice, or I can choose to stay in a relationship. And now I don't fight with my spouse for 10 years. I did my personal development for 10 years. And even with my ex, when he's like, he goes on and on and on, I'm like, are you finished? And he goes, yeah. So I'm like, do you really understand that we are family? So family don't fight. And he'll be like, what are you talking about? And I'll be like, you and my daughter. So meaning you have to explain what you want me to do, but no fighting. But now he's got it. If he comes to my house, he knows that he's at home. He comes to drop my daughter. He knows that he's at home, and that's part of the home. You come in and say hello, and there are no this because I don't do that. If I want a good energy to my family, everyone, I have to be free. So those are the things. But before, if my spouse do something wrong, I'll go to some not talking problems. Like, I don't want to talk to you because you've hurt me. And I will see that as a struggle, but it was actually lack of skills of relationships. So if anyone is watching, if you are that somebody who struggles with relationships, I am your girl. I can teach you, I can help you to actually break the chains of I'm not enough, the chains of your childhood, whatever your parents taught you in your childhood that is affecting your life, or whatever you went through your childhood, break every chain, just break. I'm your girl. I just don't play. I just go through all these things and go through these things. There was a girl, she was having problems with the relationship. So we had a Zoom chat, and she tells me her problems. And I was like, have you ever thought that it's not actually you? Whatever is happening in your life is not actually you. Is actually on your parents' side. Why don't you sit down and ask them? She was like, I've never thought of that. And I was like, how we do things in life is how we feel. So people will be blaming me. I don't blame my parents. I ask questions. I don't know with you, Nick. For me, if there is something that I don't understand, honestly, I ask questions, because I know that my parents are just human beings. They're not perfect. So if I'm annoyed with my mom or anything, I don't, because there were things that are questions that I've never bothered to ask, but I had to ask her and I had to ask my dad. So now I don't. Whenever I feel problems, or if I want to ask about my grandparents, I just ask a question. So I don't know with your situation, because sometimes the things that we struggle with is the things that happened to our grandparents, our parents, and then it affects us. So I don't know your take on this one, Nick.
Yeah, I have kind of a similar sense of like, I don't blame them at all. My parents, I mean, is they were just doing their best with what they had at the time. And but at the same time, I don't want to do the same thing. I want to break those generational patterns or chains, or however you want to describe it, and do better. And so I've just always had this sense like of wanting to do it differently, and not just continue on the status quo. And when you look back like at our parents and then and their parents, it's like you look at what was going on in the world at the time, and it was hard. Like us now today, if we were put back in those situations, we would crumble like a card house. Like, they were tough people, which it's amazing that they were able to raise families and make it through those tough times of world wars, and then coming back with all of the what would have been a pandemic of PTSD in the society, and all of the alcohol use and everything that comes along with trying to numb those those traumas that never got processed, and you never even spoke about what happened to you ever. And so you just bottled it up, and like how terrible that is for humans to do that. And so it makes total sense why I was raised the way I was, and that these generations, that's what happened. And so yeah, no blame, but at the same time, that wasn't my story. And so I don't want to do that and continue that on with my kids. And it's certainly not easy, and it's constantly a struggle, being triggered by my kids, and then going into that like angry frustration, like, and kind of almost repeating some of the things that I experienced as a child. But for me, the work is recognizing that and getting out of it quicker and quicker.
Hold on. Keep talking.
So that for me is definitely ongoing work for sure. And it's not easy, like I said. But nothing that's worth it is easy. And so when you're on a path and you're having to do work and it's positive, improving your own life or the life of your children, what's more worth it than that, right? So yeah, that's definitely something that resonates with me. And then one other thing you talked about was be careful who you surround yourself with. And that's huge. I know from my own personal experience, looking back at my life in law enforcement, and when you're surrounded by in that energy of other people in the policing world, you don't even realize that there's a whole nother world out there. Well, there's lots of worlds out there, but you don't even realize that because you're just stuck in this little, pocket of people. And now to be outside of that and to see these amazing groups of like-minded entrepreneurs that I'm now exposed to, and like just so expansive. And it's like, well, that makes sense, because in law enforcement, you're a government employee. So your ceiling is whatever your rank is and however many hours you can put in. Like, that's it. Like, that's the ceiling. Whereas in the real world, and in, like, that's not how nature was created, with this like just made up ceiling. Like, that's just not how the world works and not how the universe works. And so now to be surrounded by these, really expansive people that don't buy into that. Like, there is no limits. There's none of that. It doesn't exist. It's all you put that on your own life. And so just to be exposed to that and to be outside of that group that I was in for so many years has been really eye-opening for me. And I think super important. And so I think that advice that you gave earlier is very, very important, is to choose your tribe wisely, because they can either really expand you or really limit you, for sure.
Yeah, I think it is very, very, very important because the people, our environment, it plays a really, really big part. And the people that we are surrounded, because those people, they play a part and they become your family as well. So it's very, very important. It's like with my children as well. I always make sure that they are surrounded by good people. If I take them to activities and people are not nice, I remove them straight away, because those people become, if I'm not there, they are playing a part of being a parent. So I need to make sure that they are playing a good role model to my children. And mostly the activities where we go now is the things where we've been doing for a very long time. So there's people, it's like my children, they know if they can't talk to me, they have another family. So yeah, it's very, very important. So Nick, if anyone is watching right now, so can you tell people, our audience, who you are and where they can find you, please?
Certainly. So yeah, as you know, was a police officer for the majority of my life. And early in 2020, I started listening to my heart, and I started a apparel brand here in Canada that is, well, very much outside of my my expertise and my experience up to this point in life, but always had a strong interest in fashion and doing it the right way. So for me, that's making everything locally with natural fibers and making it just cool. And that's something that I couldn't find in the market. So I just decided to really go outside my comfort zone in a big way, and to just make it myself. And so that's what I'm doing. And in that journey, my goal and my dream is just to share my story in the hopes of inspiring other people, or showing people that healing is possible, and to really transcend, I guess, what you believed possible for yourself. It really is possible when you start just taking aligned action in your life. And you can find me on all the social media, and it's all under Flow State Designs. And yeah, the name of the company is Flow State Designs. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nick. And please, if you want to connect with Nick, just follow him on his social media. And if you can't get hold of him and you want to have a chat with him regarding coaching, you can get in touch with me on the website www.hseia.com. And I'll connect you straight away with Nick. And if you want to connect with other coaches as well, because everyone has their preference, just do the same and get in touch. And if you are looking for love as well, you're working, unfortunately, with my company, I don't take people that don't work. So you have to have a job, because I work with professionals. And these people, they work really, really hard. If you don't have a job, there's got to be an explanation. Or if you are somebody who just lost their job, is fine. You can register as long as you're motivated. I just work with people that are motivated with life, and people that have a directions, not just people who just want looking for a rich man or looking for a rich woman. I don't work like that. So I work with people that have goals, they have vision. So if you are somebody, you have a vision, you can go and register and get in touch with me, and the team will get back to you. And we are here at Ngosi Talk Shows Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. And please, do you have any words of encouragement, Nick, for our audience?
I would just say that as hard as stepping outside of your comfort zone is, it's just so worth it. The way I look at it is, you can either have stepped through that fear, that comfort, or you can have regrets. And for me, I just feel like having regrets would be so much worse than feeling that discomfort and stepping through that fear. So just take aligned action and do what you know you need to do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nick. And for me as well, if you're going through challenges in your life, please just get in touch with us. And if you're going through struggles as well, know that there is, in order for you to move on with your life and find that breakthrough, you will need, like what Nick said before, you need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture of your life. What are your goals? And what do you want to achieve? If you are in a relationship, things are not working. With the company, if things are not working how you want them to work, you don't have to give up. You just have some of the things needs us to be patient. And unfortunately, we are human beings, and patience is not what we do for living. But every successful person will tell you that patience is everything. And you have to have patience when things are not going well. And you have to have a mindset of taking action, praying and having faith, having hope that God is going to come and give you that breakthrough. It doesn't work like that. God gives you breakthrough only if you take action, because He works through what you're working through. So just keep going and be patient. Know that there's no overnight success as well. And if you ask me about success, I've gone through challenges with the business and everything. Sometimes there were times where I felt I wanted to give up, and then I was like, no, so you got this. You got this. So I know that you've got this. And now there's recession. And it actually is the times where ideas are born. Just look at the situation, things like, okay, there's recession and there's cost of living. Is the time where you need to wake up and create some ideas, let the business, new ideas come to light. So those are the things that don't look at it. You know what? I always say at Ngosi Talk Shows, if you have food to eat, if you have water, and you have clothes to wear, even one dress, that's good enough. you can survive. Can you? Just let those ideas come to reality, because there's always a good idea out there. So I'm hoping that one day somebody will say, oh, you know what, Nomsa, I watch Ngosi talk shows and I've created this and this and this. Got to get creative and not to look at it as a recession. So thank you so much to everyone who is watching, and live with grace, everyone, and God bless.